Hi, welcome to the Upside. I'm your host, Paul Santino. This is a show where we talk about all the good things that are going on in Long Meadow and beyond. On today's show, we have a really, in my opinion, really neat show today. I have Hunter Golden from Long Meadow. Hunter's a Long Meadow resident. Hunter is the General Manager, Director of Baseball Operations for the Valley Blue Sox.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, Hunter.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so first we're going to talk about what are the Valley Blue Sox, and then we'll
Sure.
go into all this stuff. But for you folks that aren't familiar with it, it's a local baseball team.
Yeah, we're a Summer Collegiate Baseball League team, so very similar to the Cape Cod League in structure. So we pull our players in from all over the United States and beyond. We've had players from Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Canada, Asia, Europe, you name it. They come here looking for an opportunity to showcase themselves, primarily to pro scouts. How I compare it to people is if you've ever watched college basketball or you've ever watched college football. Imagine if you were a pro scout, that you had an opportunity to pluck the very best guys out of there and put them in sort of a context-neutral environment where you put the best guys up against the best guys and get a chance to kind of ferret out who's going to be the real pro prospects and who are just the really good college players. That's sort of the opportunity that these kids are faced with. Most of our players have already been drafted in some way, shape, or form. The Major League Baseball draft is a little bit different from basketball or football in the sense that when you get drafted in those sports, or even the NHL, but to a lesser degree, you're pretty much going right from college or your junior team or whoever you're with directly to the big leagues. You're going right to the NHL, you're going right to the NFL, you're going right to the NBA. And in baseball, you're going to minor leagues. Unless you're exceptional. Steven Strasburg is a guy that was exceptional. So was Bryce Harper, and within a year they were up with the Washington Nationals. That is an extreme rarity. Your average path to the minor leagues for your, everyday, I want to say, quote unquote, drafted baseball player is 6 years that it takes from the day you get drafted to your first call up with a major league team. So baseball is a developmental sport. It's stretched over a longer period of time. So what happens with a lot of the guys is they come out of high school and you essentially have three options. You can go to college, you can go to junior college, or you can declare for the draft and sign a professional contract. A little different from basketball and football in the sense that unlike basketball and football, in those sports you can go into college for a year, play for a year, and then jump right back into the draft. In baseball, you have to make a 3-year commitment to your program. It's a mandated rule. So it's a big decision for a lot of these guys. Yep. And so what happens more often than not is you have players that will get drafted and they either A, won't be thrilled with their signing bonus offer, they don't like their position or wherever it so happens to be, or they just want to go to college. There's a lot of guys that get drafted high in the second, third round who get offered $800,000, $900,000, $1 million out of the draft and say, I'd rather go to school, I'd rather get my education. And so a lot of those guys
will too.
Exactly. I mean, but the other thing people don't understand is college baseball is comparable to single A baseball. So you're really kind of, unless you want to get in a system and acclimatize the coaching staff and all that good stuff, for most players it makes sense just to go to college. For guys that are just looking to make a quick jump, more often than not, what you'll see them do is go to JUCO. So they'll be out there for a year or two, and then they'll go redeclare for the draft. Or they're not; their grades aren't good enough standing to get into the D1 program that they want to go. Or they're just baseball guys, and they're like, "Well, I was the 5th round this year. Hopefully, I can be 3rd, 2nd round next year." And then you have the guys that just sign pro contracts. And of your top 100 high school players nationally, I'd say your top 50 to 60, roughly 50 to 60 of those guys will sign a pro contract out of high school. So kind of a different deal. Yeah. Now they go to their colleges, they play their spring seasons. They're all in spring training right now. I think they begin in 2 weeks. And then what ends up happening is the season's over and they end up getting sent out for summer ball. And usually everybody wants to be either in our league or the Cape Cod League. There's a bunch of different leagues nationally, but us and the Cape are 1 and 1A. And we usually get them at the more, I'd say the more raw stage of their development. So, for example, we had a guy, Brandon Bonilla, son of Bobby Bonilla, was in the league 2 years ago. He was throwing 97, 98. No idea where the baseball was going, but you could see the frame, the projection, the whole 9 yards. And so we'll get guys at that level of development. And we also get a lot of the mid-major school studs. we had Sean Newcomb a couple years ago as a 7th overall pick. He came out of the University of Hartford. The Blue Sox had Max Pentecost 3 years ago, who was the 11th overall pick last year and National Player of the Year out of Kennesaw State. So we get a lot of those mid-major colleges that maybe don't have the kind of flair and appeal that a lot of the Cape Cod League teams look for. They're always looking at the Texas guys and the Miami guys, and we get those guys. But a lot of these guys at the other schools, it's a relationship business, and if it comes down to cutting a guy from UCLA or cutting a guy from McNeese State, pretty much, and you've got comparable players, pretty much the guy from McNeese State is going to be going bye-bye.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of those guys. So it's a very competitive league. We're one of 3 leagues in the United States funded in part by Major League Baseball. So we have their seal of approval. It's all wood and bat. So for a lot of these guys, it's their first time putting down the aluminum and picking up the wood.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty vicious schedule. It's 44 games in literally 2.5 months. So it's a grind for these guys, plus the playoffs and any exhibitions or any side, games that might be going on during that time. So this is really the time that the men get separated from the boys, so to speak. And it's on-the-job training for minor league baseball to teach these guys not just how to get better, become better as professional baseball players, but teach them how to be professional baseball players.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Cape Cod League. That was that's the August league of summer baseball for players. And as growing up, we always heard about the Cape League and who played there and that type of thing. Your league, how many teams are in the league?
13.
13 teams spread around New England.
All 6 New England states, yes.
Okay. So you have 13 teams. You don't compete with Cape Cod, but you do for players. Mm-hmm. Where are your top rivals from? Who's the most natural rival for the Holyoke for the Valley Blue Sox?
In terms of the teams in the league, in the league, I'd say it's always pretty competitive with Keene and North Adams. Have 2 fairly local teams that we see frequently. We're always sort of to the top of the division, so Vermont is always a team that we always end up running into. I'd say in our league, the Newport Gulls historically have always been the team to beat. I think they've won something like 7 or 8 championships in 20 years. Chuck Pava, Brad Leva, and all the guys that are down there do an incredible job. I think last year they led the league with 16 draft picks. We carry a 30-man active roster. 16 of their guys got drafted last year. For us, it was 9, and we're 2nd or 3rd in the league. So, they pump guys out, at an incredible clip. They've had Dustin Pedroia down there, Andre Ethier. They were roommates at Arizona State, so they were sent out as a package to Newport, which must have been terrible for the summer, or whoever their host family was. So they get them. But, we've had guys in our league, Brian Wilson, Steven Strasburg, Craig Breslow, and Andrew Bailey, who were both recent Red Sox, came through the league. And we've had 3 of the last 5 number 1 overall draft picks come out of our league. So we're churning over big name players and guys that are going to be sort of household names in the game within a few years.
So where do you guys play? I know you're based in Holyoke. That's why I said Holyoke Blue Sox, but Valley Blue Sox,
Yeah, we our offices are actually out of Springfield. We're on the 11th floor of La Quinta Hotel. We've got half of the 11th floor up there, which is great. But we play our games out of McKenzie Stadium in Holyoke, where the old Holyoke Millers used to play. So right off of Holyoke High there. We seat about 1,500 to 2,000 in the grandstands, and then we have all of our group spaces. But the business side of the team is essentially the same as you'd find for any minor league baseball team. We average about 2,500 fans a game right now.
And your attendance is relatively high, if not the highest in the league, is it?
Yeah, we're 2nd highest in the league, next to Newport. We were 23rd overall nationally out of about 215 collegiate summer league teams. So we're right up there. This year we're hoping to crack the top 10. So, but summer college ball as a business has become increasingly popular, even in mid-market cities like Worcester, where they're averaging 7,000 fans a game out there for a league that, playing level-wise, is about 3 rungs below us. It's becoming a real viable, affordable alternative for communities to explore instead of, the huge expense that minor league baseball presents.
And minor league baseball tickets have jumped up, just like Major League, but relatively speaking, they've jumped up. What's it cost for a fan to come to a Blue Sox game?
Family of 4 can come for. We sell family 4-packs for $30. You get 4 tickets, 4 sodas, 4 hot dogs, and last year we had Kentucky Fried Chicken as a sponsor on it, and you got a family meal, which is a $22 meal from Kentucky Fried Chicken for free.
For $32.
For $30.
For $30.
For $30.
And 4 tickets to the game.
Yep. 4 tickets to the game. You're fed. The kids, you're fed for that night and for the next night or whenever else you want to feed yourself again. So we do that. We used to do that on Friday and Saturday nights, and on Thursdays we had to deal with Domino's, which is the same thing except you got a large pizza to go with that. So we offer a variety of avenues for families to get engaged and come out to the games, and it's great. The players are accessible; they're right there. They're willing to sign autographs and take pictures with your kids, and we run almost 2 venues. It's kind of interesting because most of our seating is down the first base line, our grandstand. The other side of the park, we run like a country fair. We have cotton candy, fried dough. We have a very deep menu of concessions. We have a beer garden. We have a bounce house. We're adding a speed pitch zone in this year. We have our group corporate area, which is a gigantic tent, and then we have the fencing around it for private groups. We do birthday parties. So this side of the park on the first base line is almost for your hardcore baseball fans that don't want to get run over by kids and be stuck behind foam fingers, and they can keep score and listen to music and the PA announcer and take in the game. And on this side, if you've got kids, they can run around. They're all within sight. They can play catch, and it's almost like a completely different world over there. So you get the best of both worlds, right? So and you get these guys before the money gets them, while they're still growing. It's a big deal for our players. They love it when kids come up and ask for autographs. So it's a great experience for the family and affordable.
There's a couple. I want to hit on a couple things, through the group, because I've known Hunter for a while and listen to him talk about baseball. Now you get you don't have to play baseball manager anymore. You get to kind of be it by drafting kids and so forth. So before I get into that, is one thing I wanted to talk to people about is I met one of your ball players at a friend's of ours house.
Sure.
We went over there and. It looked like the hostage situation, but it was there involuntarily. And you guys place these players in local housing with families. So it's not like they're not coming up here and renting an apartment.
Sure.
Why don't you talk about how that works, and if people want to get involved in that, how do they do that and that type of thing?
Sure. Well, all our players live with host families throughout the region. So they go as far north as Belchertown, as far south as Enfield. We have currently 23 host families. We like to do, 1 player per house if we can, but a lot of families will double up. We had one family one year that took 4 guys. God bless them. But they're dotted throughout the region, and it's a really important part of what we do. And it is a volunteer position, but you get free tickets to all the games. You get food vouchers as well, so you get to come out as much or as little as you want to the park for free. You get to go to any park in the league for free, essentially. So there are some kind of cool perks, and we throw in all our events. So our Western Mass Hall of Fame banquet that we just had, our host families get in for free. Our kickoff party that we just had, that we're going to be having in 2 months, they'll be able to get in for free for that. So any kind of event that we have, host families can get into. But these players are coming from all over, and the host family experience is so important for them because we'll get kids from Hawaii, we'll get kids from Los Angeles or New Mexico or Arizona, and it's a big change going from Hawaii to Holyoke. I think that's an understatement, right? So
there's
a big
no
part
water
of that,
around.
right? A big part of that, just to have that comfort and that transition. And I think for families that participate in that experience, it's always a very unique window for them into the life of a pro ball player. That there's ups, there's downs, there are people, they eat bacon, they microwave bizarre things, they have bad sleep habits, or they do this, they do that. And people really get to understand what that's all about. But that you also create lifelong relationships. I've had 2 players live with me in the past. I talk to them almost every other day still. Haven't seen either one of them in 2 years, but I talk to them every single day. And where are you at? Do you think you're going to get drafted, or this, that, and the other thing? Our team's owner, Clark Eckhoff, had his own 2 teams in the past, and he had a lady that was a host family out in Wisconsin for him, and she had over the years she had Curtis Granderson, she had Ben Zobrist, Casey Jansen, all in succession. Wow. And she travels all over the country. They just call her up and invite her out. And so these are lifelong relationships that you create with these guys. And it's an opportunity to, maybe you've got the next big superstar baseball player living in your house and eating in your fridge and playing around with your kids. And It's great, and getting involved. We're always looking for host families. Always. It's always something that's challenging for us. So anybody that wants to get involved just can go to our website, valleybluesox.com, go on the contact us page, just fill out the form there, and we call folks and go through the process. We'll come into the house, make sure that it's not falling over, and/or that you don't have any bodies buried in the basement.
Yeah, that's
and
important.
So long as everything is copacetic there,
Yeah.
we assign a player for you in May. So. It's a lot of fun, and host families are some of our biggest champions in the community as well. So they're important to us.
Yeah, no, I met a great young man. I'll talk to you about him afterwards. A great, he held himself really well because we grilled him on a lot of questions about baseball, what he's doing, Holyoke, what he's looking to do, going forward and stuff.
Sure.
A great representative of the team in the league and so forth. So you get players from college.
Right.
Okay. So talk about how that works, because I know it's, you don't just say, I want that one. You have to work to get kids to come to your team in your league. How does that work for you guys?
Well, I'm a big sabermetrics analytic guy, so I love my data. And we have a pretty stringent statistical profile that we scale across basically Division I, II, III, NAIA, and junior college. Spits back about 600 guys, and we start peeling back the onion from there.
Yeah.
We like to get it to a nice, neat list of about 100, 150 guys that we know can produce in our park, be successful in our league, and that we feel will be healthy enough and will get here. We have a lot of factors that go on between us acquiring the player and actually getting them here that we have to prepare for as well. So from there, basically we put a shopping list together, and
Let me interrupt you. Your 600 names that spit out.
Yeah.
Now, these could be kids that technically are going anywhere. You don't know where they're going.
Right.
Cape Cod League, whatever. Okay, so just...
Sure, yeah, you're always in a competition.
Yeah.
You always have to assume that. And so from there, we kind of lock ourselves in our war room with the office, and we argue about these 150 guys for 2 days. And we rank them 1 through 150. And that's our shopping list. And we literally start making phone calls directly to their head coaches, their assistants, right on down the list. And really from there, it becomes a relationship business. It's not unlike insurance or retail or anything like that. How I explain it to people is, imagine that I called you and asked you one day for the thing that is most important to you doing your job successfully, and said, I would like to borrow that. I swear to God I won't break it, and when I send it back to you, it'll be better than when I took it from you. That's the trust bridge that you've got to do.
Yep.
And except this isn't an inanimate object, this is a human being. So that's a big, that's a lot of trust that you have to build there with that particular program. So you really end up developing relationships over time with these college coaches, and you end up forming sort of pipeline programs. So you're looking at that 150 list, and I got a guy who's maybe 27, 50 on that list. I know he's in a program that we've had a great track record with, a great history of success with. We're going right to them. We make a beeline for those guys. University of Buffalo, we've had 9 players since 2009 from the University of Buffalo. 10 of them have been drafted. One of them ended up having a bad season with us. One ended up being the pitcher of the year. 2 of them just made it to the major leagues. We had a kid last year drafted off the roster. So when we call University of Buffalo, we're getting their best players. I'm not sitting there talking about C, D, and E. They're not trying to negotiate another guy to get in there because they'd like to see him develop a little bit. Yep. We're getting their best, and no BS. It's right straight to the point. So that's the big thing for us is having those relationships and having that trust. Tennessee, Ohio, Belmont are other schools for us that fall under that umbrella. And then sometimes your negotiations for a player can literally be, when I call Buffalo or I call Tennessee, for example, and I call them and go, hey, I'd really like to get my hands on A, B, and C. And they go, okay, send the contract. That's it. That's the whole conversation.
Yep.
Other times, when it's a new program that you're looking to do business with, it's a 3-4 week discussion. He's got 5 different offers here. Why should he come here? Tell me about what you've got for facilities and all the things that you can offer outside of just competition that can support their development. It's a 4 or 5 week sales job.
Yep.
So it depends on the player. It depends on the program. It depends on a lot of things. Then once we sign the player, then we start monitoring them obviously heavily. We watch them through fall ball. If we can get out to see them, we like to do that in the spring. But then you have a variety of things.
When do you actually draft that say, here's my guys?
In really August, September, right? Okay. As soon as the season's over. We actually sign
really? So your season's over, you go right back to the
I signed our first 2 guys with a week left to go in this season.
Oh, wow.
For next year. The first 2 guys that I got. And, so we monitor them, and then it's a matter of getting them here. So we have guys for pitchers, for example. There's a thing in baseball called the injury curve, right? Where it sort of measures peak injury risk for baseball players, and it really falls ages 19 to 22. So when you get a position player like a pitcher, right, for example, their risk for injury is very high. This is the first time physically in their life that they're starting to pitch more often and take on a bigger workload and more responsibility and more pressure. So it's more stress on the arm. So we'll get guys that have great seasons, but they pitched 80, 90 innings, and the program says, we're shutting them down. We're not sending them out. We want them to rest for the summer.
Yeah.
We get other guys that get injured or hurt. So we're really always kind of in player acquisition, but we're never really, really done until that first pitch of opening day.
Yep.
Perfect example, we lost 6 pitchers last year between March and May 31st, which was our roster cutoff.
Yep.
So we had to scramble and find guys, and that becomes more challenging as the spring moves along, because even your surprise guys, those guys you didn't expect to be good who've emerged, they're already off the table too. So really in summer college ball, like in the pro ball, you're signing the best players you can, right, to raise your ceiling.
Yep.
With us, you've always got to be protecting your floor. You've always got to be looking at the guys at the back end of your roster that might not be huge contributors for you, but will be role players or bit players in what you're trying to do, and keeping those guys as their level of play as high as possible. So it's a lot to juggle.
So when you have so you start. Season ends, you already start drafting for the next year, and obviously, so you're monitoring. What happens during the season? How big of a roster do you have?
Gary, a 30-man roster.
30-man roster. Mm-hmm. 6 guys go down hurt. What do you do? Live with
try
it?
To fill those. Yeah, you got to kind of try to fill those six spots. It doesn't always work out that way. So, for a lot of teams, when you get into July and the dog days, or you're coming down the stretch, you'll have teams dipping into D3 guys.
So you'll call some up, we want you on the team for the rest of the year or whatever.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to get a guy to get you over for 2 days. And that's part of the scramble that goes on. So that's why we're always, we watch a lot of the local schools. We watch Springfield College and Winnick and Elms, and maybe a great opportunity for one of these guys to showcase themselves. Baseball is a funny sport like that. A lot of guys just don't get noticed for no other reason than they just didn't get noticed. Guys get drafted out of D3. Guys get drafted out of D2 and NAIA and JUCO. It's not like college football or basketball where it's the same 30 programs hoarding 95% of the talent.
Right.
It's spread out all over the place. One of the best players in our league the last couple of years was a kid out of Holy Cross. And with all due respect to them, they're not exactly a flagship program in Division I baseball. But he was a 3-4 hitter for them, and you could put him in Miami or Texas or any other school, and he'd be a great player for them. It's just he didn't get noticed for whatever reason or prioritized academics and just blossomed as a player late or whatever it so happens to be. So you just don't know what's out there. So it's always a good idea just to, especially when you're looking at that local pipeline, to make sure that that's flush and you've got a beat on everybody. So
when does the business side of this start? When do you?
It never ends.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, your season starts when?
Season starts on June 9th this year, so that's going to be our opening day. I always tell people that our business is almost, it goes in almost 3 cycles. August, really through December, we're really a baseball office. So just like you'd see on the movie Moneyball or any of that, we're talking players. We're very focused on that and putting the team together. I'd really say December-ish, right up to the season, we're a sales office. So we're calling sponsors, trying to get people to advertise with us, put up signs in the outfield, sponsor our between innings promotions. We do all the same crazy kooky stuff that the minor leagues do. We have Whack and Intern, we have the bat races, we do t-shirt tosses, the whole 9 yards. We do game program advertising, all that good stuff. So we do that now. And then once you hit the season, you're like an event management company. Each game is its own individual, unique event. we have a 22 game home schedule, and each game has some sort of promotion next to it. Every Friday night, we're doing fireworks this year. We did a Star Wars night last year that drew 4,700 people. We do so we do everything that's kind of wacky and offbeat like that, and your more traditional promotional staples to cause marketing, like our military appreciation night, our Alzheimer's walk, things like that we do. So always trying to attach area not-for-profits, area businesses, and blend them into what we do. And it's important. It's not just important for the advertising revenue and the attendance and the ballpark revenue, although that's hugely important. But those groups become marketing companies for us in a way. When they have 200 tickets and they're giving those out, when they have their email newsletter and all their customers and they're giving those out, that's helping us spread our name recognition and our value as a brand. And I tell everybody at the end of the day, yes, we're a baseball team, but we're really family entertainment. That's really what we do. That's what keeps the lights on. That's what pays the bills. We're family entertainment. So any businesses that are interested in reaching that crowd, we're a great conduit to be able to do that. It's 3 hours of action where people get to focus in, on their message or whatever it is. And baseball is cool that way. I mean, it's the only sport where you really kind of look for the advertising. When you notice something's different on the Green Monster, you notice something's different, right? So it becomes much more part of the game than say other sports. And there's a for every dollar spent on baseball, there's a $3 return on investment. So we present a tremendous value there for our customers. We also do the group sales, so we have church groups that come out. We have, businesses that bring their clients out. So, and a bunch of different spaces to be able to entertain them. So we really kind of become, like I said, an event management hospitality company in the summer.
Okay. And we have about 5 minutes, so we'll just talk a little bit more. What things do you want the public to know about the Valley Blue Sox? What message you want to get out, because they'll see this before the season begins?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, we're anybody that wants to get involved.
And by the way, pitchers and catchers are going to, from this tape, and we're going to be reporting about 2 weeks, 10 days, whatever
2 weeks,
it is.
It's crazy.
So
it's a good feeling. It doesn't even feel like we had winter.
Yeah. So baseball itch is going to start coming soon. So
it is coming right around the corner. So. We present a tremendous opportunity, especially for those families that maybe can't go to Fenway Park more than 2 times a year.
More than 1 time a year. No,
I do, but that's not a lot of people, right? So, going to minor league baseball, going to Major League Baseball, it's a logistical challenge now, and we're right in your backyard. We present a very competitive
free
product.
Parking?
What's that?
Free parking?
Absolutely, free parking, and. So we present very easy on and off the highway, and we draw really off of both markets. I joke with everybody all the time, we kind of straddle the imaginary tofu curtain that goes through the middle of Holyoke. So we draw a lot of people from Hadley, Northampton, Deerfield, just as many as we get from south of Holyoke, with Springfield, East Longmeadow, Chicopee. We're a great affordable option for family entertainment, and even if you're not a baseball fan, we've always got something going on our promotional calendar that's going to be of interest to you. So we see a 30-40% bump in attendance on our fireworks nights, and we get people there that they could care less about what's going on in baseball. It's a great opportunity for them to come out, spend the night with their kids, take a free fireworks show, get a cheap meal out, and then be in. Our games start at 6:30. We're not starting at 7:30, 8 o'clock, so it's at 6:30. You're getting home earlier. Kids are going to be in bed, and mom and dad can do whatever it is that they want to do the rest of the night. So we present a wonderful product, and we'd love to see as many people out of the park this year as possible.
Yep. And so when we look at the league's been around, you said, for about 20 years or so?
1993, yeah.
And which is actually, kind of surprising. That's one of those things that was probably off the radar screen,
Sure.
Cape Cod and all that stuff like we talked about. How long have the Valley Blue Sox been around?
Blue Sox have been around since 2008. The NECBL has been around in different iterations in Holyoke throughout most of the 20 years. I think 95 was the first time they ever had a team there. Faye Vincent founded the league. Faye Vincent and George Foster used to play for the Cincinnati Reds. Were the guys that founded the league. It started off as a small 4-team league in Connecticut and grew over the years. But the Blue Sox in their current iteration have been around since 2008. Us and the new management team have been around since 2013.
Yep.
I came on board between the 2013 and the 2014 season. So, our growth in that period, we went at one point, we're averaging about 250, 300 fans a game. Now we're putting 2,500 in the park.
Yeah,
so I think we demonstrate the power that baseball has in this market and the potential for it. And we're very fortunate. We sit right in that minor league baseball territorial rights umbrella. So we've got this market to ourselves and a wonderful opportunity to continue to grow this.
Yeah. Excellent. I mean, the venue's right off of 391, so you can get there real easy from anywhere that you're going from. So the most important thing is that if you want to get involved, whether it's looking at the schedule, finding what's going on, becoming a host family sponsor, whatever, valleybluesox.com.
Sure. All the information will be there.
Yep. Hunter obviously goes to Dunkin' Donuts here in town, so you can see them anytime you want. They're not a sponsor, but hopefully they are for you guys, and not on my show, but that's a different issue. But it's a great opportunity. It's a great venue. It's easy to get to. If you've been to high school football games, you're right there. It's in the same spot.
Yep.
But great entertainment, like I said, and you don't think about it, but the kids, and they are kids that are playing there.
Yeah.
Are really doing a great job, and the fact that they're entrenched in the community around here speaks volumes of the league.
Yeah, and we try to keep them. There's a community benefit component that's essential to our league. We're a not-for-profit, technically, so we have to, integrate these guys as well as possible into the community. That's going out to schools, providing clinics, coming out to speak to local youth baseball teams. That's one thing we love doing. So. It's a tremendous opportunity. It's not every day you get up close and see a 96 to 97 mile an hour fastball and stand 4 feet away from it. You get that chance when you come to see us. So we're always out there willing to be engaged with the community and whatever they're doing. And like I said, just looking forward to seeing as many people out of the park as possible.
Okay, so before we close, the Red Sox this year.
Yeah.
They got David Price.
Yes, they did.
Unfortunately, they still have Hanley Ramirez, but that's a different issue. Where do you think they're going to end up?
Well, their projections have them as the best team in the American League right now. I think there's a lot of questions that need to get answered, but I think they're all good questions. The thing is, last year, a lot of guys really had bad years, just bad, out-of-character years. The idea that Pablo Sandoval and Hanley Ramirez cost the Red Sox 4 wins like they did last year, again, is really unlikely. And even if they become stinking corpses and they do nothing, they don't contribute or detract, that's a 4-win improvement. So there's a very good possibility, excuse me, that this team bounces back. They've got some rotation question marks, but Eduardo Rodriguez should continue to make a step forward. Clay Buchholz should theoretically stay healthy enough and be competitive enough to get them to the trade deadline if they need to add a piece. Joe Kelly took some huge steps forward last year. Their bullpen is really built to absorb a big hit. They've got arguably three of the best arms in baseball coming out of their bullpen. And then we'll see what the farm system churns over this year. So they're deep, the talent's there. There's no reason they shouldn't be competitive this year. I expect them to be right in the hunt for the division title.
There we go, from our baseball man, our own Long Meadow baseball man. This was awesome having you on a show. You see a little Blue Sox hat here. Yes. Plenty of memorabilia to buy there, but I can tell you that the turnaround of the Blue Sox from almost kind of withering away at one point. To being a solid franchise in the league is got to be somewhat rewarding that you guys are drawing what you're drawing. I mean, there has been that change of ownership, and it's a different way of thinking, I think, that has gotten the name out there. And you actually appear in things like Mass Live or the newspaper now, where it never was before, kind of thing. So I want to thank Hunter for coming along again. If you want any information whatsoever, valleybluesox.com. Check it out, whether you want to be a host family, go to the game, sponsor, that type of thing. But Hunter, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next episode of The Upside, folks. Have a great day.